gentlemen, welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I'm Nick McDaniel. He's Myron Fancher. How the heck are you, buddy?
Doing great, doing great. It was great seeing our what do you call it? Not choreographer, Punk Flesh this weekend. Good to see him. Songwriter. He's not songwriter.
He composes all of our music.
He's
for
our
us,
music guy. Yes, your son-in-law, Punk Flesh, at the big birthday party for your grandson. Happy birthday, Dante. Yes, yes, it was a wonderful party.
Oh yeah, Mario'd out, man. Super Mario'd out. Yeah, exactly. But look, it's a huge weekend. Lots of stuff going down.
Oh yeah, it was
And
a lot of fun.
Yep, was a blast. And you know what else is a blast, man? If you sign
What's
up
that?
for us over on our Patreon page, patreon.com/tappedoutpod, or our YouTube channel and become a member, you get, it's a blast for a while. I think this week I'm going to do something special.
Special.
I'll get into it in a minute. But, you can head over to YouTube. Make sure you're like the page, subscribe to the page. Click that little bell because you never know when little things drop. Sometimes especially if you're a member, you get stuff early, and you never know when I get around. Because as soon as we record, I try to put this stuff up, and so it's kind of cool because you get to do you get the show early, and I think there may be some picture content this week. I'm going to try to leave that for what it is. Some photos. I might take some photos over the next few days. I'm trying to be vague about it. I'll discuss it a little bit more next week on next week's mailbag episode that we're going to do.
Okay.
But so yeah, it's cool. I think it should be fun. I'm going to try something new. We've talked about doing a few other cool new things over the next few weeks and going forward. More correspondent type work, for our members, live from venues and stuff like that. We'll talk about that a little bit off air.
You're Charles Perrault.
Yeah, a little bit. All of us, all of us, man. But look, it was it's a couple mailbag episodes coming here over because this week, with a special one next week that I want people to check out for sure.
Yeah.
Something a little different. We've been saying like we needed to do this for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
So make sure you are subscribing. Whether you're an audio listener, make sure you subscribe. YouTube member, Patreon member. Make sure you're subscribing. Make sure you're liking the page. All that good. Turn that bell on, damn it. That's the big one.
Ding!
Make sure you get that. So, but look, man, we got to get into it because it was a huge weekend.
Huge weekend.
Wrestling.
45,000 people in Toronto went to WWE shows. 45,000 people. Biggest. Lord, I sound like I'm running for president when I start going through these numbers like that. Biggest merchandise, biggest this, biggest that. Great show. And how about the fact that it's not just the Monday, the Raw after WrestleMania. It's the Raw after Money in the Bank. It's the Raw after every single PLE. You get these massive Raws where you get Rhea Ripley coming back. You get
tons.
Oh God, the CM Punk and Seth Rollins thing. You get all these great things happening on the Raw after Money in the Bank. Which was a phenomenal pay-per-view, which I love Money in the Bank. What was your part there?
Go ahead. Let's start the questions because that's our first one's going to hit, and then we'll kind of answer, I think, the question you just asked.
Steven, Charlottesville, Virginia. Did you guys like Money in the Bank? And what were your favorite matches?
So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think I was messaging you guys, and we were like, dude, this is two things. And it's funny, I know, I don't know if you the press conference, one of the things I love about the PLEs, it was like 3:10, maybe like 3 hours. It was just a little bit over 3 hours. And I know Triple H caught a little flack for his, the 7-hour pay-per-view thing. And it made me laugh. It really did. But I was like, all right, and he was like, don't do that. That's not what I meant. It wasn't taking shots at anybody. I'm kind of like, hey, look, he's been a part of those pay-per-views.
Yes.
Back in the day. So he was speaking from experience. I think it's pretty easy to guess what our favorite match was. Probably between the two of us, it was probably the same.
Yeah.
But just let's start there. Let's start there because I know some people did not like this match.
I loved the women's Money in the Bank match and it was High Spot City, which I'm not Mr. High Spot all the time, but I love ladder Money in the Bank matches. I love the fact that the heels were were cheered for. It was Canada. Chelsea Green's Canadian. She had on her Trish Stratus Canadian gear. She did the whole Trish Stratus thing coming out. She got cheered big time. Tiffy time when she got the briefcase, the whole crowd went nuts. She's so over. It doesn't matter if she's face or heel. The spots were nuts. Lyra Valkyrie with that thing, that pop-up thing. Then the whole bomb. Oh, God. I don't even know how to describe that.
Io Sky, when she basically dropped Zoe Sky on her head. Is what it was kind of like.
Through a ladder.
Through a ladder,
It was nuts.
So, Michael Cole said something mid-match about how he was a little uncomfortable watching it, and it's kind of my thing sometimes that, I always discuss this. I get it. Look, we've had this comment in the past, and it's like, look, I understand it's, and I even said it then. It's me. It's my problem. It's my issue. It's not on them. When women are in cages and women are in, like no rule, like where they're using chairs and stuff, and I get it. Again, it's probably because I have daughters, and I wouldn't want to see my daughters in those situations.
Yeah, I have a daughter too, so I get what you're saying.
Same thing in ladder matches when they're doing some of those moves.
Now, Melissa,
it makes
my wife,
me nervous.
I'd be perfectly comfortable seeing her do that because she can handle herself.
Yeah. It's just women, and I understand that. By the way, it's not like from a bad place that I say, "Oh, it makes me." I'm worried and concerned when they do it. When men do it, look, it is what it is. I'm less concerned. I am concerned, but I'm less concerned.
Well, I don't think that's misogynistic. I just think that's maybe ingrained in us, being older men in our early 50s.
It's just a concern from a fatherly place.
Yeah,
most of
fatherly.
the time.
Yeah, I get it.
Anyway,
it was brutal. That table spot Chelsea Green did was nuts.
Yeah,
the splits Naomi did on the two ladders they went all out. So it is scary, but it's a ladder match. Money in the Bank ladder match. It's all high.
Maybe. And by the way, that match delivered as far as I'm concerned. I know, like I said, there were prominent. Eric Bischoff wasn't a fan, but it was maybe because typically the women's matches, the ladder match, Money in the Banks don't. So maybe it was me personally. Did I bring the bar down a little bit, and they just exceeded my bar? So maybe that's why I enjoyed it so much. Maybe that was it. I don't know.
Well, the men's match,
but it seemed to be like it seemed to me online that most people were agreeing with that comment.
The men's match wasn't that great. I mean, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't shocking until CM Punk rolled out from under the ring, and Michael Cole said, "Holy shit!" How cool is it that Michael Cole's now becoming a popular figure?
That's a twist. When he did that in the championship match, so we'll talk about that now. The Priest and Rollins match is when that happened, not the Money in the Bank.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
So let's jump to that because there was a lot of controversy in that, and I want to kind of agree with. All right, we have to be fair here. So Priest and Rollins having their match. Priest doesn't kick out. Okay, shit happens. It just happens. But at the same time, Myron loves to call out a good botch, so you got to call out a good botch, right? It happened.
I'll call it, but did it bother me? Did it ruin everything?
Oh, no. So here's the thing: it didn't ruin everything for me, but it did bother me. I'm being honest and fair. Like I was like, "What the hell was that?" Like Now, at the end of the day, like we don't know what happened. Like there was a part of me like, "Okay, was he knocked out?" I mean, if he's knocked out, guys, I don't know what you want him to do. Like if he was like literally like loopy. I mean, whatever. Because here's my thing. People saying he forgot to kick out. I find it very hard to believe he forgot to kick out when he knew he was winning. Now, if he was losing anyway, yes, maybe he thought that was the spot where he was getting pinned and he didn't kick out. But he was winning the match. So I don't think he forgot to kick out.
And I think, yeah. And I think the referee might not have gotten his shoulder up on the other side as far as he was supposed to. I just assumed the referee forgot something at first or didn't see something at first. Whatever. I didn't really get the box till
the rumor was. There's also a rumor flying around that Drew McIntyre's music was supposed to hit then, and that's so the referee would have stopped, but he didn't. It didn't. So it's on the music cue guy.
Yeah.
So and if that's the case, again, it's human beings. I don't know. Whatever. I think could he hit 3? They still could have looped it around, but I'm like, but then how do you get it back on Priest? You can't, or
it worked. It worked.
Whatever.
The whole thing worked, and that was cool. But what was your favorite part of that match? Those little nuances, wasn't it?
Oh, he kept looking back, like constantly, like looking back for Drew, like worried Drew's going to run out and cash in on him because he said he was.
And also worried about the rest of the Judgment Day coming out.
Correct. So there was
Seth was looking for the Judgment Day. Yeah. It was a lot of tension, and they did that so well. Triple H was so right about Damian Priest and what all he's achieved. Really, really appreciated all that.
I agree. It's 100%. Damian Priest, look, don't take this one mistake because they've all done it. They've all got something in their past they wish, like, oh, I wish that wasn't caught on tape. But it happens. But as a whole, I think he's doing well, and I'm really looking forward to him and Gunther at SummerSlam, which we'll discuss that in a minute because I want to get there. But, yes, Punk, look, I'm not like, this isn't a toot because I openly online mock myself about how bad I am at prediction stuff. But I did call the Drew McIntyre win and the CM Punk run in and all that because they don't need that title and that's feud, and like it would have literally pulled Gunther into the story had they, because the champion, because Gunther's guaranteed a shot at SummerSlam because he won King of the Ring. So I was like, that, I think that alone just screamed like this can't happen. Like we cannot put that belt on Drew because then it'll tie them up with with Gunther as well.
Man,
but
oof. That Gunther promo was fire. That pre-recorded promo.
Video packages is WWE strengths, is it not? That's one of the things. Like,
dude, they don't scrimp on those at all. NXT's video packages are awesome. They don't skimp on that stuff at all.
They are the cutting edge of that type of thing. I always joke and say, like, the NFL, when they do video packages, could learn from WWE and video packages to sell players to make stars. But I will tell you this. We're going to jump out of the order here a little bit. One thing that I actually took from that, why am I so impressed by Gunther? Because when they were showing flashback videos and images of him, I'm like, look at the work he put in to go from that guy to this guy.
Yeah.
Like he didn't change his style, nothing like that. He didn't repackage as a wrestler, but just the look. I think somebody, Triple H, got in his head and said, listen, it ain't personal. It's nothing that we can control. We think that you will be, if you just get in really good shape, you're going to elevate to the next level because then more people will accept you as in this role. And boy, have they. That's the thing. So kudos to him for that, for putting in that work. But look, we also want to discuss before we move on, Braun Breaker. Him versus Sammy, off the charts good match. I really enjoyed it. Did Sammy sell too much though? There was that. I thought that
Sammy's the sell master, man. Sammy can make a guy look good. Sammy, that underdog bit, he's the best at it.
But he was selling 5 minutes into the match. I think he should have gone a little less. Like he should have. That's all. Nitpick. I get it. It is what it is. But I did also. We discussed it a little bit last week. That I don't think it was time yet to put it on Braun Breaker. I think. I felt personally. A couple things. One, I've always, people are kind of doing the Goldberg analogy. I squash that now because you know why? If I will tell you the one thing that Money in the Bank did teach us, that Braun Breaker can actually wrestle more than like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think that's the huge, and I mean Grand Canyon gap between him and Goldberg.
That Frankensteiner he pulled just about made me shit my pants, dude. That was nuts. He's a genetic freak. Yeah. Okay. I mean, he is a genetic freak.
Yeah. The speed, the strength, the agility. He is legitimately a total package. And I think, it's funny because they were talking here. We're going to segue back to Gunther here for a minute. They were mentioning like the only people to beat Gunther, and 2 of them were in the ring. It was Sami Zayn and it was Braun Breaker, because Braun Breaker is the one who beat him down in NXT. I hate to tell folks, good, bad, or indifferent, I think we're going to see that feud again up on the main roster, Breaker and Gunther. That's going to happen again because I think the masses deserve to see that match versus just, look, NXT is what it is. I think that audience is much, much smaller. And I think I think when they saw that down there, they knew the day was coming that thing would happen on the main roster as well.
Oh yeah, that's your taste. Yeah. That's where you let things get in there and you put a little spice on them and see how people like it, and then you put it.
It's one of the big things they're doing right now. They're doing really great about like putting little pieces around, like the Seth Rollins piece now, like with the Drew. It's like, are they going to involve him in a 3-way, or is it going to be, hey, we're just setting the table that after Drew and Punk are over, Seth's already waiting in line to get his hands on. Or, here's the or does Drew end up getting the best of Punk because Seth Rollins sticks his nose in, and that segues to the feud with Punk versus Rollins, by the way, which we'll discuss in a minute, was originally supposed to be something we were going to see before. So is this how they get back to it, and they can segue away from Drew because Drew gets the win because of Seth Rollins? So basically, does Seth Rollins play CM Punk's game against him?
So that's last year's WrestleMania becomes this year's WrestleMania.
Maybe.
And we learned about that in another special thing.
Oh yeah,
we're not going to get there yet.
Hold on. We haven't even discussed Bloodline versus Cody, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens. Look, I want to ask you this: match was what it was. It was a piece to get Solo a win over Cody.
It was a brawl. It was supposed to be a brawl. Yeah. It was supposed to establish how badass.
But that's not the question I want to ask you, because the match was what it was. I don't even want to. I mean, it was, and I get it. Everybody, all the interference. Yeah, they're setting Solo up to be heel Roman head of the table, like he's whatever it takes to win. Okay, that's fine. The question I wanted to ask was, I just saw a ton, and I mean a ton of backlash online. Man, forget WWE. Roman Reigns should have showed up, and I was, that he didn't show up, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, they never said he was coming. Like, are wrestling fans predicting or hoping things are going to happen to the point they're angry or disappointed when it doesn't happen, and you're mad at WWE, and like, dude, they never said it.
Wasn't he at his dad's funeral?
Yes.
With Paul Heyman? At his dad's funeral?
Yes.
Okay. I'll forgive him for not doing a run-in because he was at his dad's funeral.
Right. Just don't even get me started. And then people were like, the Wyatt Six didn't show up at Money in the Bank, blah, 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 blah. And like, they never advertised. They never said they were coming. Like, why?
It wasn't necessary. It wasn't necessary. They haven't pulled the trigger on that yet.
Correct. One of the things that I think I enjoy and most people don't, PLEs are a little more special, especially like when everything's not shoved on it. Like, just spread it out. Like, maybe the next show, the PLE, there's something more there.
It's like, by the way, go ahead.
What did you expect them to do? Like, who were they involved in any of those matches? They weren't, the Money in the Bank ladder match, Chad Gable was involved. And so, yes, if that's what you're trying to get at. But I'm like, what do you, like, did you want them to get involved in the Money in the Bank ladder match?
No. PLEs are like, you go to a buffet and your first tray might be barbecue themed. And the next time you go back, you might get some breakfast food. Okay? You can't get everything on your tray, or you'd have a 15-match card like AEW does, where they put everybody with a rivalry on the card for the show. WWE picks this storyline we're going to bring off on this pay-per-view. This storyline we're going to bring up where it hits this pay-per-view.
Now,
not everybody's ready.
The other cool thing they're doing is they're just putting some of the stuff that normally they would have shoved on a pay-per-view, PLE, whatever. They're just putting it on Raw or SmackDown.
And there's a pre-show too.
I mean, like, because they defended the tag belts on SmackDown.
Yeah.
Theory and Grayson Waller lost to DIY on. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, hey, just put it on SmackDown instead and make SmackDown special.
It's free TV.
Well, and it's in the same town. It was in a, so I'm just saying. But all right, man, let's keep it rolling because there is one other huge thing. Obviously, we want to talk about. Well, we'll let
And
the
this
questions.
is surprise. This is what I get for getting behind. Michael from Conway, South Carolina. Why did you guys think of the Cena retirement tour announcement? Well, I'm gonna miss you, John. Yeah. Please don't go too far away. Now, he didn't say he was done with WWE. He said he was done in ring.
So let's go in time order of his announcement because, we watched it live. My wife, believe it or not, is a huge, obviously, John Cena fan for a million reasons from Sunday. But when she saw the shirt, she was like, oh, he hadn't even gotten the ring yet. When she saw the shirt and it said the last time is now, she was like, and he hits the ring, he starts talking. The problem was, if you watch social media, the instant reaction of he's retiring at WrestleMania. And I was like, I actually looked at her and I go, I don't really think that's what he said. And, but you know what though? It was implied a little bit.
You had to listen to the press conference to get the total breakdown.
Correct. Okay? I think that's why he really went out of his way to say, I'm going to lead off the press conference. I'll answer any and all questions. And boy, howdy did he ever.
Oh, yeah.
He just kept taking question after question.
My first press conference. I have never watched one of those damn press conferences before. And don't call it a scrum. God, I hate that word. I enjoyed the press conference. And the thing about the press conference, you can't get anyone to be a better representative and someone to be a spokesman for your company or any company than John Cena.
Right.
Like when he got that question about Vince, perfect.
I do agree with that. Yeah.
Perfect. Nothing came at him that he didn't make you feel great about.
Now, here's the problem. Some people don't like that. Some people think he's very sanitized and he's very, but look, in that scenario, you kind of should expect that's what you're going to get.
He's a politician.
To some degree, I will agree with that.
Run for something, John. Please run for some office. I don't care what party. Yeah. I don't care. I will vote for you, John, regardless. Yeah. My wife will vote for you. She loves John. Everybody loves John Cena at my house. I'm going to go, if they've got that T-shirt, if I haven't had a WWE merch order in a while, I'm going to get the John Cena T-shirt. We're
going to buy it. They don't ship until, right now I looked at it, something about they don't ship, it'll ship no later than August the 9th. So I'm kind of like, so that means you're expecting a massive order and a back order. And by the way, they're in love with this shirt and this hat. The hat's $30 and the shirt's like $35. I'd hate to see what the fat boy size is going to be.
Oh God, the fat sizes are going to be. Did they make a fat size in the hat? Because my hat size is like a 8.5.
I didn't look. I just saw the $30 price tag. I was like, yeah, I don't know about that one. I was like, we're going to have to. But the shirt's going to be a given because the wife already said she wanted one. So
so we don't start on the tour till 2025.
So let's go to the details. Yes, let's get. So he basically clarified he was not going to miss the Netflix debut. I think that's where we're going to kick off the tour. Is going to be on the shocking, right? Like John Cena's kicker.
You got to have him. You want to make it real. You got to have John.
Well, it's a hell of a way to try to we're kicking off the retirement tour on Netflix on Raw, so you might want to watch.
It's big debut, John.
Yeah. So, and then he's, again, in the ring, it's my last Rumble. It's my last Chamber. It's my last Mania. And he kind of stopped there. So that's kind of why everybody was like, oh, shit, he's retiring at Mania. Well, in the press conference, he clarified 30 to 40 dates they're kind of working on. So I think, you're probably looking at 3 shows of average, per month he'll wrestle. Kind of sounds like TVs and a PLE here and there, whatever. At the press conference, he was asked, what about number 17? Like, are you going to go after the 17th? Are you going to try to break the record for world titles? I loved his answer. I thought it was very good. Those are earned, and, those are earned. They're not just given out. And yes, John, you are in a hell of a slump because we can't remember the last time you won a match either. But there is the Rumble. There is a Chamber match now that it lets, because, last year they kind of added that person basically can challenge for the other title. There's Money in the Bank. He could win Money in the Bank and challenge for the title. I'm torn because here's where we are. if you're going to make it his last Mania, the question became, who does he wrestle at Mania? We all assume, and look, we should not assume, because there's some assumption that Rock Cody's going to happen at WrestleMania. I still, to the core, believe they want Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania.
Yes.
So let's go under the assumption that Rock's going to wrestle Roman. Cody needs a high-profile opponent. And honestly, as crazy as it sounds, I would argue let John Cena either win the Rumble or let him win the Chamber and him challenge. I mean, look, because you'd have like the Bloodline match with Roman, so there's the animosity and them fighting each other. With Cody and Rock, or Cody and Cena, you get a respect thing. The promos alone are going to be money because they're just going to both stand there and they're going to talk about how much they respect each other. John Cena respected his father, loved his father. He respects him as a champion, but he wants to win number 17. Cody, hold on real quick. Cody respects John Cena. There's a total respect love fest promo, but he cannot let him win 17 by beating him. So it's just out of respect. This match is all about respect, and it's the proverbial Hogan Rock match at Toronto at 18 is the same thing. I think what we get is we're going to get Cody. Because, by the way, you want some unpopular takes, Myron? By Mania next year, I predict they're boo birds for Cody. Like at that point, he would have been champion if he makes it that far. He would have been champion for a year, and we're going to start having the people who Cody's wearing on him. Like they're tired of him being champ. But then you're going to have people that are going to be, we love Cena, or let's go Cena. Cena sucks. And then you're going to, we want Cody. Cody sucks. I bet you we get both.
If you love or hate them, they still did their job.
Mm-hmm.
They got over. Okay, folks. But, when you say those are earned, those aren't given away, if we look at Ric Flair and we look at Cena, has Cena not earned his shot by not being Ric Flair, by being a great human being, by doing all those Make-A-Wishes, by not being Ric Flair? I mean, hell, we've seen what Flair's done in his old age. I think maybe John deserves to beat him. Just out of, I mean, Flair's probably the greatest of all time, but John has been John.
I think WWE wants it more than Triple H and John Cena want it. I don't think either one. I think I think they respect the wrestler Ric Flair so much.
Okay.
Because Triple H has always said he wanted no part of passing that record. He did not want to break it. So I just got the vibe that Triple H and John Cena would both be like, yeah, no.
How about Nick Khan and The Rock,
though? I would think that WWE would want it just for the sake of they'd be able to put the greatest world champion of all time, more title reigns than anybody, is John Cena versus Ric Flair. Like, I just think that's the difference. I think the company probably would want it, and I get it. Folks are, Triple H is running the company. I get that, but there's still the company other than Triple H. I think just my opinion.
So I said to Vince, let's put the belt on John for 17, because wasn't that the meme we saw all weekend?
Hey, hold on. Would you argue though? John Cena is a Vince creation.
Yeah.
So putting that's not a FU to Vince by putting him on. That's a thumbs up to Vince if you make John Cena the 17-time world champion, because he's a Vince creation. That's why by the way, if you want to know why, that's why John Cena struggles to answer that question that he was asked at the press conference. I think deep in his heart he knows that. It's a very. If you have not seen, by the way, tangent number one for Nick, if you have not seen Kevin Smith try to answer the question about some of his early movies, like Dogma, Dogma's the movie, by the way. You damn near cannot find that movie anywhere because guess who owns that movie? Harvey Weinstein. Not the production studio. No, Harvey Weinstein owns Dogma. He basically self-financed and bought the movie to get it made. So Kevin Smith is one of those, that movie doesn't get made without this man. It's one of his favorite projects he's ever worked on.
It's a good movie if I remember.
It's a great movie in my opinion. I mean, I'm a huge Kevin Smith fan. But guess what? It churns in his stomach to this day that man owns that movie and he can't buy it back. He has tried to buy that movie back and can't get it back because of, it's a way that Weinstein has control. I say all that to come back to John Cena realizes without Vince McMahon, he's not John Cena. How do you compartmentalize and process that into your brain that I owe everything to this man? But if he's done all of these things, like I can't, you know what I mean? I can't support that guy. Now, like, let your head wrap around that as as a human being. And that's a very difficult thing to do. Mm. I owe everything to you, but I think you're a piece of trash for what you did.
It's like me having a shitty father. Now that always has haunted me, but I don't know. That's a lot, Nick. That's really heavy.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get out of the heavy shit. But I will tell you this. I was super happy. First thing out of my wife's mouth was, we got to find out when he's going to be close and we got to go see him in person. She's never seen him in person. She's gone to WWE events with me before, but he was not there. I've seen John live for obvious, at shows. She has not. She even went, "What about Mania?" And I'm like, and I told her the date, and she's like, oh, they have to literally have testing the next morning.
We need to figure out to get one of those signings or whatever, or one of us needs to pretend to be a little kid with a disease. I mean, I've got diseases. I'm just too old. If you could sell me as a little kid, I've got the diseases to go along with it.
You have gigantism or whatever it's called.
I have gigantism.
He's actually only like 8. He's just grown like massively.
But I forgot.
Fast.
No, I'm like 51, but I forgot.
Yeah,
due to
he's 8.
My epilepsy. I think I'm 8. So John Cena, I need you to come do a Make-A-Wish for Myron. Myron wishes just to meet John Cena, and Nick and our wives can watch.
There you go. So,
exactly. I got a plan.
Yeah. Well, absolutely, man. But hey, look, before we get rolling, Myron, let's not forget, before we get to the next question, we've been super excited about our partnership with our friends over at Dubby. Dubby.gg. That's the easiest way to get them, man. Look, how did we partner with these guys? Look, they were looking for content creators. They were looking for gamers. They're looking for all of those types, of people, streamers just like us. So we're like, hey, we're on board. They've been around since 2021, man. Started around April 15th of that year, and they've grown and grown and grown. And why are we big fans of Dubby? 0 sugar, no artificial colors or dyes, no secret formulas that they're hiding from you, none of those hidden ingredients they like to have. And by the way, it's gluten-free as well. All of their flavors, by the way, if you're looking right there on the screen, Dragonade? What's Dragonade? Well, it's because all of their flavors are unique and custom, and they're made just for them. So you're not going to taste their flavors anywhere else. And by the way, you know what's really cool about it, Myron? Those things are like, on average, you can come out to about $1 a drink versus all that money that you're spending for the cans. Now, look, we understand, guys, some people are real big fans of the cans. You can order the cases of the cans just like you can all those other brands that you love. But my thing is, man, save a little money. It's a lot cheaper than going to Starbucks. It's a lot cheaper than buying those things at the convenience store. It's right around $1 per drink when you do it yourself. And the coolest part of it all, man, it's made right here in the USA, which makes us a massive fan of the product. So go to dubby.gg. That is dubby.gg. Use the promo code TappedOutPod. Save up to 10% on your first order. And, look, it's a great way to support the show, supporting our sponsors. We always tell you, please, man, support the sponsors. It's the best thing you can do to help us out along the way. So
I gotta get me some more, man. I gotta get me some more because I'm a little groggy this morning. But I got some coming in the mail, thank God. Man, what do you think about that documentary? Our friend Andre from Bethesda, Maryland. You ever been there?
Nope.
I've been by it. Have you guys watched the WWE Wrestlemania documentary, and what did you think about it? Well, Andre, we have watched it.
Yes.
And I think we both really liked it.
We did.
Yeah.
It is hard pressed. Like you said, we talked about the production. I can't remember if we were talking about that off air or on there, whatever. But when it comes to the it was production. We talked about it with the Gunther stuff. When WWE does documentaries, specials, any of that type of stuff, I would say 8 out of 10, they hit a home run.
Yeah.
It is absolutely one of the things they do the best. Now, I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit here and say this. The documentary I thought was really well done.
Yeah.
Captured a lot of emotion into it.
Yeah.
Guess what? For a change in a documentary, Myron, we learned some things.
Yes.
That was kind of cool. You don't learn, but we learned, all of these little facts, right? We did confirm Punk, Seth. We talked about that earlier. Punk was supposed to wrestle Seth at WrestleMania. He got hurt in the Rumble. That's what threw everything sideways. Rock and Roman was confirmed and was supposed to happen. By the way, the part that just floored me is Triple H admitting that when Cody asked him about, like, they were having a conversation, like, what does that mean for Cody if Rock Roman happens? And they're kind of like, I don't know, we got to figure it out. Like, the hell? Like, dude, you're at Rumble at this point. He's won. Like, what are you gonna do? I mean, it just that part.
My favorite part was how they did it, the creative process, and them talking about how they got from here to there. Like they would pick their North Star of where they were going, and then the creative process would get them there, their GPS. I thought that was fascinating because that's, what we watch. That's what we enjoy so much.
Yeah.
The creative process of seeing how they get from place to place.
Well, what was great to find out, Myron, is that luckily for the WWE, that the great savior, The Rock, was there to map out the plans and figure it all out to get us to where we, and he knew what was best for us.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing. We had this conversation before we went on air. I said, hey, well, if it wasn't real, they wouldn't have put it in the documentary. And then you're like, The Rock's on the board. That's probably why they left it in the documentary. And I'm like, oh, crap. You're right.
Rock is not look, and I don't know, and I'm being as facetious as it comes at this point. I don't know, but I know there's a lot of people online right now that are finding The Rock very disingenuous and are basically The Rock. I saw one meme that like our generation's Hulk Hogan, and what I mean by I'm going to preface is that he basically takes credit for everything. Like, is that where we are now? Like Rock basically saying like you could do this, but I knew the best thing to do was this, so this is why we went this way, and everybody kind of going. Now, I told you this off air. I wasn't sure I was going to say this on air, but I'm going to. My take was, I think Rock realized that if they had pushed through and we had Rock Roman at WrestleMania, I honestly feel like there would be a huge section of the fan base that would have turned that match into Goldberg versus Lesnar, where they just crapped all over that match while it was happening. And The Rock's ego absolutely couldn't. By the way, I love The Rock still. The Final Boss. Love the character. Loved everything.
Oh, it's a great character because he is the boss. He is the board member.
But I don't think his ego could handle. Do you remember, like it was years ago, when he was in the ring with Roman and he, did the point and the fans were just booing the crap out of Roman at that point? You could see the look in his face of like, wait, you're booing even though I'm standing? He legitimately, I think, thought that because he stood there, they would cheer. And I don't think he understood that I think his ego probably, look, and by the way, I'm not saying this is a bad thing that his ego was damaged by this. Wrestlers have egos. I don't know if you've met a few of them. They have egos. I don't know that his ego could have, I think his ego was hurt, that the fans were like, we love you, Rock, but we choose Cody over you. I think that hurt his ego. And then 2, I don't think his ego could handle being just the rain of boos that would have happened to them at Mania had they pushed through. So I think when him kind of like, well, I knew the right thing. No, you knew you couldn't handle that, nor could I blame him. So that's the pivot. That's why the pivot happens.
That's reasonable. That's very reasonable. I could see that happening. And he did make himself look like the wise man. He made himself look like, I'm the smartest creative genius. And we talked to this. Oh yeah. I called Nick and Ari. I'm like, Jesus Christ, Rock, drop some names. Talk about your influence. I mean, I don't drop that many names when I'm trying to look influential.
Do you mean to tell me that the WWE went out of their way to not paint one of their board of director members in a bad light and were shocked by that? You shouldn't be. But speaking of bad lights, Myron, there's another couple things that have come out that I just, let's dive right into that one.
Okay, this is a question that's pointy. I don't know how we're going to give this one. Trent, Parkdale, California. Sounds like a lovely place. What do you guys think about how Ethan Page and Donovan Dijak have talked? Is it Donovan? Did I add that wrong? Have talked about backstage environment at WWE versus AEW. Now, Dijak was talking about the WWE backstage environment, and Page was talking about the AEW.
Well, he kind of compared the two because he. By the way, the differences between these two, and I'm sorry to interrupt. I'll let you go back. Page has actually been in both.
Yes.
Dijak's just speaking of his experience in WWE, so that's kind of the differences.
And Dijak was recently not renewed his contract. He just found out, a week before? What'd you tell me?
He found out. It was right before his thing.
Right before it expired. Yeah. He was not able to book indie dates because he just found out shortly. So he lost maybe a month worth of pay from the deal.
Basically.
Apparently, the rumor was he was a spy for Sean Ross Sapp. Okay. Well, that could be why. Apparently, when he was on the main roster the first time, he tried to go to Vince to talk to him about stuff and pitch ideas, but you had to try to go into his office before a show. That was tough. That was the only way you could get anywhere with anybody. You couldn't just communicate. Now, that's not something I have heard that much from people, especially if they were hot stars or especially if they were people who were communicative.
Listen, I listened to JR, I listened to Eric, I listened to, a lot of these guys talk about it, and Mick's brought it up a time or two. It's pretty simple, folks. First of all, obviously Vince isn't there now, but when Vince was there, people would line up at his door to try to talk to him. Shockingly, if you're Stone Cold, if you're The Rock, or you're Mick Foley, you're prioritized. You're at the top of the card. You mean higher profile athletes are coached better than you? Yes, they are. Unfortunately, that is true. Fortunately for them, unfortunate for the guy that's not. So, and by the way, you want to, if you don't believe that this happens, there's a very quick snippet in the documentary we just talked about. The Rock standing there waiting, because remember Damian, so like it happens, folks. But you got to line up, and if Vince didn't have time for you, sorry, Bruce has brought that up. Vince is a busy man. He's going to prioritize all that. So that's stuff I've heard before. However, I think ultimately Dijak's biggest complaint, and I'm not, by the way, I'm not completely crapping on some of the things he brought up. I do consistency maybe is the better thing. He argued the fact that some talents are given 30 days notice that their contract's not going to be renewed. Some are given 2 weeks, some are given a week, some are just told last minute. So his argument was, are they really independent contractors? If you can't go work whenever and wherever, and we've had this conversation in the past, go check it out in the archives. I will always claim that there's some validity to that, but they did sign the contracts. I mean, you knew it when you signed it. But so it's very argumentative. But at the end of the day, look, and I'm not saying that doesn't excuse it. Dijak's a disgruntled employee. So, when he's having those complaints, it comes off that way, even though I believe there is some validity to what he said. My argument, as far as when you're comparing locker rooms, Ethan Page has a better standpoint because he's been in both places.
Yeah.
However, I want to be fair. People didn't like the way he was booked in AEW, et cetera, et cetera. He looks like he could be same argument. He's a disgruntled employee that was booked poorly, was allowed to leave and whatever, and that's why he's not. Now, last thing I'm going to say before I throw it to you, at Heatwave, he wins the championship. It's kind of hard to argue that you're not enjoying an environment where they're about to put the strap on you at the time, and you probably know that.
Yes. He kept saying WWE is a machine. It's a production machine. I can see that. I can see that totally. I can see Dijak being a disgruntled employee. I can see that from when I left CVS. Okay. Worked for CVS for 10 or 11 years. Was a disgruntled employee. Saw bad things. Probably said bad things. Had a negative experience. It was. Dijak probably, though, had a negative experience because he was given information. Maybe the guy is just a dick. Okay, maybe he pissed off some people. Maybe some people didn't like him. Maybe something went wrong. Maybe he was just discriminated against. Maybe a guy wanted to push one of his buddies over him. It happens. Wrestling's a personality-driven business. So it could have been that. Page, he's been at TNA. Page has been all over the indie circuit. Used to work on the tag team with Cody Rhodes, if I'm not mistaken. Page was in AEW. AEW is a new company. It's a startup. It doesn't seem like they've got things as together as WWE. WWE is ran like a business now. It's not as carny as it was when Vince was there. It's especially since the TKO takeover. It's a business, top to bottom, where things are produced.
So let me ask you this. So what you're telling me is that when everything is catered to the voice of one, good, bad, or indifferent, everything's gonna fall in the vision of that one person. It was that way with Vince. Now it's that way with Tony Khan. And so the product is what it is. And if you don't fit that plan, you're going to be disgruntled because you're not going to get used the way you think you should be used.
Yeah.
It happens, folks. Shockingly. Yeah. So
that's the way the world works, unfortunately.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to go on some kind of tirade here about when I was a kid and that kind of shit, but
yeah. Well, Myron, listen, if you're out there and you want to go on a tirade, what do we tell them, Myron?
Oh, yeah. Go to our friends at Libsyn.
Yeah. Go over to Libsyn, Libsyn.com, sign up today, start your own podcast, man. Look, they're going to get you distributed to everybody and anywhere. They're even doing distribution to YouTube now. So you can do it all in one place. Go to Libsyn.com and use the promo code TAPPED and sign up and get up to 2 months for free. Start your own podcast, guys. Look, everybody always asks us how we started, and I always tell everybody, look, they're the only service I endorse. Libsyn.com, promo code TAPPED. Sign up today and get up to 2 months for free. Well, let's keep it rolling, brother, because we're going to run out of time.
Didn't you used to work for Blockbuster?
I did. Okay,
let's talk about somebody who used to work at a video store also. Greg from Pine, Arkansas wants to know, do you guys think that Vince Russo could be right about Vince and Shane potentially buying AEW? Well, there's no video stores anymore, Russo. There's no place for you to go back to. You're grasping for attention, and you're full of shit. Fade away, please.
It's not as insane as you think. Do I think it's going to happen? No. That's a different question. The answer is no. But Shane's been seen talking to Mercedes Moné at airports. They're friends, I'm sure.
They passed each other in the airport.
Sure. Shane has, look, if Conrad has said there are talents there he knows that have told him that Shane McMahon has reached out to them, I believe him. I don't know why he would lie about something. There's nothing to be gained about lying about that. Now, that still doesn't lead me to my logic as to why, by the way. It will always come back to this. Vince, look, and we can get into the cons don't need the money. They don't. That's not the point. The question always boils down to this. Does Shad Khan ever go to his son and say, enough's enough? We don't know what he's making, how much he's allowed him to take, and what he's allowed, he's giving him some of his inheritance early to do this. So this is the problem. The reason why I say it's not as insane as we think, because we don't know all the details. There's so much we don't know. If a day came where Shad Khan looked at Tony Khan and said, hey, enough of this, I need you to focus over here because these are where we make our money. Like the Jaguars is the thing, or whatever. Like that could happen. We don't know that, but it could. The other part of that equation is Vince McMahon vindictive enough that he would buy that company to compete with a 1,000%? But then part two of that is it a reconciliation of some kind? Because Shane has also been left out. That he's going to we're going to buy this, and when I die, it's yours. Because it's a private company, he can leave it to whoever.
But why does? Okay, let me think.
Is Vince?
Why does Shane want a wrestling company?
Why not? He wanted to buy stuff in the past. He wanted to buy MMA leagues before. He's wanted to buy, that's just his thing. Shane's a business guy too. Okay, by the way, you don't think Shane loves wrestling?
Okay, yeah, he loves wrestling, but a wrestling company maybe. And why would anybody want Vince? I mean, Vince, I don't want to say he's got a shit stink on him, but he does.
Does Vince buy it and Shane's the face of it though?
Yeah, but everybody's gonna say it's Vince, and the AEW fans would.
You ready for this? Nobody has to know. It's not a public company.
Somebody has to know where the money came from.
Shane.
Still a McMahon.
Doesn't matter.
Still his sister and her husband run WWE.
Well, her husband does.
Okay. They still get a substantial amount of money from WWE.
Sure.
Still a lot of the direction.
Okay. Shane might want to build something. There's no threat, by the way. There is no threat, and Vince McMahon and Shane McMahon are fully aware. There is no threat if, and this isn't going to happen, I don't think, but it wouldn't be insane. I think that's the answer. It's not as insane as people think. But I don't believe Vince McMahon knows they're not going to hurt Vince. They're not going to hurt Triple H and Stephanie's money at WWE by running if they bought that other company and ran it. They're not going to put a dent in any armor whatsoever. But if Vince thinks he can build another company, which I don't think he can by the time he's dead, but you never know. But I think, again, here's my answer. This is where I'll leave my answer. Do I think it will happen? Absolutely not. Is it insane to think that it could happen? No, I don't think that's that far gone because those I think Vince is crazy enough and Shane is ambitious enough to want to just do it. That's just my answer.
I don't know. Russo could say the sun's going to come up tomorrow, and I would be like, it's not.
Yeah.
That's
I agree with you.
Man.
Yeah.
It's just he's a clickbaiter. That's all.
But
to talk about companies up for sale, Nick, we got a good one. Good question here. Joey from Bishop, Texas. What do y'all guys think the long-term plans for TNA are? What do you think, Nick?
I mean, honestly, I just think as long as they're not losing money, they're just a TV product, like for Access TV. I mean, that's just kind of
I
where they
love
are.
it. I love TNA. I can click it on there and watch it hour and a half on YouTube, that
Yeah.
YouTube Plus, and then zoom out, no commercials. And then Slammiversary is coming up. They got a great card for Slammiversary. It's $40. Can't wait for it.
And look, the NXT partnership. I mean,
Yep.
look, I think maybe that they're just when I think the could they potentially become a deal where guys can look. Joe Hendry looks like he's going to pop back up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, on NXT, they teased that at a Heat Wave. There's lots of pieces there. I think where they can just. I think there's a good partnership working out for both of them at the time. WWE can use some of the more experienced talents of TNA to work with some of those younger kids. Because somebody's like, it's very one-sided. You know, they sent Regal's kid over, and they sent one, a woman that everybody's like, who's that? Okay, they're like, what is TNA gaining from this? Well, TNA's getting an advantage if they're on the USA Network, like their talents, and they're getting referenced on USA Network.
Yeah.
And if, by the way, if this partnership, think about it, if the partnership continues and stretches on, when the move to the CW goes, they're going to be on a broadcast channel getting to advertise a little bit. So I think I think people are, and unfortunately, by the way, let's leave it at this. 100,000 people is a good number for TNA because they're on a bad network. It's not a shot at them.
Yeah.
A bad night for NXT is like 500 and some thousand. So you're 5xing your audience if you're exposing them, any of your talents on NXT than you are on TNA. So I think that's the plus. I don't know that the talent swap piece, as far as NXT talents over to, like people wanting main roster people going to TNA, you can give that one up. I don't think that's happening. I could be wrong, but here, hey, Gallows and Anderson, maybe, because there's a TNA tie there.
Dude,
maybe.
And TNA's got that amazing library. There's so much to be gained from this. Let's just watch and see what happens.
Yeah, let it work out. But if something were to break, Myron, we would obviously be able to drop it right there on our YouTube channel, youtube.com. The handle is @TappedOutPod. Go to the page, like the page, subscribe to the page, hit that little notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Because you also, by the way, can sign up there and become a member, just like our Patreon page, patreon.com/TappedOutPod, or become a member on YouTube. Get the show early, get the extra stuff that we throw on there as well. But I get it, folks. Some people are like, hey, Nick, I had a guy yesterday come over. He's talking to me. He's like, oh, man, I listen to Spotify every week. Well, okay, that's great because we're on Amazon Music, Spotify, iHeartMedia. We are on Apple Podcasts, anywhere and everywhere there's a podcast platform. Yeah, we're there, folks. Give us a subscribe on there. And, hey, look, if you want to, throw us a 5-star rating and review. We'd appreciate it. Helps us out along the way. Helps in the old algorithm, as they like to say. But, look, we appreciate your support no matter how it is. Again, make sure you're supporting the sponsor, whether it's Dubby, whether it's Lipson, whether it's jmartinandcompany.com, doing all your pressure washing stuff as well. Support the sponsors that help support the show. I got a new partnership, hopefully, that we'll have in 2 weeks. I'll have that signed. It won't be next week. But it'll be in 2 weeks. We'll probably have that one rolling out as well. So support the sponsors, man, however you can. It does help us keep the show, rolling as well. So
awesome.
Anything else? I know we got a special episode next week. So check it out, folks, and sign up. And so, yeah, man.
Cool. Can't wait to see what happens next week.
But, well, man, anything else before we get out of here?
I'm all good.
Well, what's the old saying, brother? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.